So we want you all to be very participative. Ask all the questions that you have there in your head that you don't know the answers for. He's here. Once he can, he will answer those questions for you. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Dr. Pottinger.
All right. We have 12 years old and up, right? So I check everybody know about the birds and the bees, and that babies come from the North Pole in a stalk, right? A stalk, a bird carry them down here. You understand that? All right. So let me just say, you have boys and you have girls. Girls different from boys significantly. I don't want to get too technical, but everybody have something called chromosomes. We have 46 sets of chromosomes. 22 of them is what we call autosomes. Those make up everything else. And two of the chromosomes, is control sex. Girls have two X chromosome, and boys have an X and a Y chromosome. All right. Now, a man it's very difficult for you to develop as male. Even if you have X and you have Y chromosome, if other things not happening at the same time, like there's a hormone called testosterone, if it's not being secreted at the right time, even though you have the chromosomes to be male, you will develop externally as a female. So you will have vagina and clitoris and things like that, even though you have testes inside. All right? So those are what you really truly call. You see, you see the girl from South Africa, Costa Semenya, who run and win all the 800 meters and them things, right? So you have other people in history, like what I'm saying here. So externally they look female, but they actually have testes. Testes is the male gonads. Women have something called ovary. So women have ovary that produce something called testosterone and something called progesterone and a little bit of testosterone. While men have testes that produce plenty testosterone and little bit of the others. So if you have somebody externally that look like a female, breast, vagina, vulva, things like that, but have testes, they produce plenty more testosterone. And like, I'm not saying this is the case with her, but we know in the past this has happened. So those women have an advantage in an athletic event. So that the man's seed is called a sperm, and it will go into the woman and it will fertilize the seed from the woman called an egg. Alright, I don't want to get too technical, but that is what happened. And if a sperm meets an egg in something called the fallopian tube, the sperm fertilizes the egg, and the two of them come together to form something called an embryo, and that travel down the fallopian tube into the uterus, or what you call the womb, or the corpus, and it gets implanted and it develops there as a baby. Everybody with me? 12-year-olds with me? All right. No, you have certain diseases you can get when you have sex. And one of the diseases is a viral infection called human papilloma virus. There's over 100 of them discovered so far. 30 of them infect the genital anal region, and 14 of those can cause cancers. Now why I want to talk about this, because this one is rampant in Trinidad and Tobago. For women, breast, cervical cancer, followed by colorectal cancers, is what killing women from cancer. So breast cancer is the most common one killing women. If you live to 70 years, 1 in 8 women in Trinidad will develop a breast cancer. The next one just closely behind that is cervical cancer. The cervix is the mouth of the womb. Let me joy, because this is not no X-rated thing, alright? You have a hole that the ureter, that is the urethra, urine come out of that. Above the urethra is the bladder. Just above the hole that the urine come out of, you have a little knob. That little organ is called a clitoris. And it have a little, like a fold around it, similar to the male penis. You have the penis, then you have what you call the glans penis, and then the skin over it is called the prepuce. So the clitoris is the same embryological origin as the penis. When you just start to form, it's the same set of cells that form the clitoris, that form the penis. Looks similar. So the clitoris is equivalent with us, is called the glans penis, and the prepuce, which is the skin around it, is the same thing around the clitoris there. Then below the clitoris you have an opening, and this opening is called the vagina. In a young female who haven't had sex, this vagina is kind of closed. It have a membrane with a little hole. So all of this is the membrane, and this membrane is called the hymen. After you start to have sex, the hymen bursts. I might get a little bleeding for the first time. About 120 of them discovered so far. 30 of them infect the genitoanal region, anus, vulva, penis, vagina, etc. Alright, some of them infect your toe or your foot or your finger or your head, and they're very body specific. So one that infect your toe not going to infect your vulva. One that infect your vulva not going to infect your head. So 30 of them infect the genitoanal region. 14 of these can cause cancer, so they call them oncogenic. So you have 14 oncogenic viruses. Out of all of the cancers, over 90% of the cancers due to only 4 viruses. Alright, 16, 18, 45, and 31. About 8% is due to 4 more. Alright, so if you take these 8, it's nearly 100% of all of the cancers of the vulva, vagina, cervix. So we're going to focus on the cervix, which I tell you is the mouth of the womb. Because 93% of the cancers caused by HPV is of the cervix. So this is a serious something. Because I tell you, plenty people dying in Trinidad every day, week, month from cervical cancer. And it's these viruses that cause it. Now, everybody who ever have sex will be exposed to the virus. Most people's immune system will clear the virus and don't have any problems. Some people's immune system can't clear the virus, so if you have a persistent infection, especially with one of these, over a long period of time, you have high risk of developing cancer at the cervix. Now when we're young, the immune system is at its zenith. in under 15. Once you pass 15 years and growing older, it's downhill for the rest of your life. So something that you got exposed to at 15, 20, 25, 30, and your immune system could clear it, you may get the same virus 35, 40, 50, 60, 70, and your immune system weakened to the point that it can't clear it. So you end up with a persistent infection. So a persistent HPV infection with one of these is the necessary cause for you to develop cervical cancer. Now, around 60 years ago, there was a doctor called Dr. Pottinger, and he discovered that you could scrape the mouth of the womb, the cervix, with a spatula or a brush, and put the cells on a little glass slide and fix it with a chemical, then stain it, and then look at the slide at magnification under a microscope, looking for the cancer cells, or what we call precancer cells, looking for something called dysplasia. And if you do that, you can see the cells, so you know who have a precancer lesion. It's a very slow process, it don't happen overnight. It's from the time an infection with the virus to the time somebody gets a cancer, it can be 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So, if you do the pap smear, at least on a 3-yearly basis, it will pick up the thing in what we call the pre-cancer stage, which is easy to treat and not so expensive, and will save your life. So, first message I want to really leave is that once somebody becomes sexually active, we're talking about women now, by 3 years after becoming sexually active, you must start doing something called pap smear. Right? And the pap smear is a short for the Pottinger smear. And it's just what I just explained to you. It's cheap, it's not painful. People should go to the health center or to the GP or gynecologist, get the pap smear done, and if it is normal, you're good, and repeat it at least every 3 years. If you do that, your chance of dying from cervical cancer will be very, very low. Now, it won't be 0, because no test is 100%. So the pap smear the doctor might call it and say that it's normal when it is not normal. Because you're looking at a slide, we have millions and millions of cells, and you're probably looking for a handful of cells that look abnormal, so it's easy to miss it. Especially if you're doing plenty for the day, and you're tired, and it's Friday evening and you want to go line, you might say the thing normal when it's not normal. So every test have a false negative rate. That's why it should be repeated at least every 3 years. So if it was a mistake this time and it said it normal when it wasn't normal, 3 years time you most likely will pick it up. Or 3 years time after that, 6 years likely will pick it up, because it don't move fast. You're not going to move from nothing to cancer in 2-3 years. Everybody with me? Now, in Trinidad, it's around 10 to 15% of the women do their pap smear. Right? We're talking about ever do a pap smear. If you're talking about doing the pap smear regularly, at least on a 3-yearly basis, the figure dropped down to probably about 5%, which is just crazy. And I don't know what else you need to tell people that they must go and do this thing. The amount of people who come to me, I am not a normal gynecologist, I'm what you call a gynecologist. So my training goes far beyond the normal gynecologist. I concentrate on cancers. And I'm sick and tired of seeing people coming to me with a big stinking cancer. Plenty times I can't save them, right? They're going to cost them plenty money, and they're going to still bust them through it, because they never do a pap smear. So people are begging you, please start doing your pap smear by 3 years after becoming sexually active. If the first 2 or 3 annual ones every year, normal, then you can do it every 3 years. If you reach 50 and never had an abnormal pap smear, then you could even do it roughly every 5 years. and you should do it for the rest of your life. Right? The health system like to say it should stop at 65. That is nonsense. I've had people in their 90s, 96-year-old, 295-year-old, what I operated on, and plenty of people in their 80s and 70s with this cancer. So if you stop doing your pap smear at 65, you may turn up 75, 80, or 90 with the cancer. So do it every 5 years after 50 for the rest of your life. Now there's a lot of things I just said. Before I go on to the next part, I want people to tell me that they understand what they're saying. Anybody who don't understand anything, please ask me some questions. So if you have upwards of 70% of the prostate cancer have the same HPV 16, 18, 45, I believe ultimately it will be shown that HPV causing the prostate cancer. More reason for people to be vaccinated. So the boys and the girls should be vaccinated. Anybody between 10 to 12, please go and vaccinate your son, vaccinate your daughter. If prostate cancer turn out to be a HPV cancer, cool. Another thing that protect, most of the men don't like to hear this, a big study, epidemiological study show that if a man ejaculate, clear the pipes at least 5 times a week, it reduces your risk about 30%. Let me say that again. My brethren over there, so I watch him phone and now listen to what I say. Yeah. So the study actually said 21. So for a month, if you clear the tubes 21 times, those fellows had 30% less incidence of prostate cancer. And it was a study with thousands and thousands and thousands of men over about a 20-year period. So it have good power. So most likely this is not a fluke, it's not an accident, it's most likely a serious thing. So clear the tubes at least 5 times a week. The prostate cancer, any screening test for it to be effective, it have to be very sensitive and it have to be specific. Sensitive mean if something is wrong, the test should be able to pick it up most of the time. So like the pap smear, the sensitivity is about 50%. So that's why you should do it every 3 years, because the sensitivity not very good. The mammogram, the sensitivity is about 90%. So if you do the mammogram, and if something is there, it will pick it up about 90% of the time. So that is very good. If you're going to use ultrasound to check your breast, it's not very good as a standalone test because the sensitivity is just about 40%. It will miss 60% of the cancers. If you have a breast which is very glandular, what they call fibrocystic breast, so in that breast, because it's dense, the breast look white on the mammogram, the x-ray, so the sensitivity dropped to about 70%. If you back that up with the ultrasound, it come back up to the 90%. So with the younger people with dense breasts, the mammogram plus the ultrasound is a good screening test. For the prostate, there's a protein called the PSA, prostate specific antigen, that you could test, but it's not very sensitive and it's not very specific. So as a standalone test, it's not good. Meaning if I go and do my PSA and it is high, the PSA could be high if me have an infection of the prostate, right? So it's not really telling me that that is due to cancer. So when many things could cause it, that means the specificity is poor. It's not very specific, right? Now, if you do something called a digital rectal examination, you use a finger to feel the prostate and you want it to feel small and soft as opposed to big, hard and craggy, right? So if you do the PSA and the PSA is small, low, is less, the figures run from something called 0 to 4, right? Nanograms to the PSA. So you do your PSA and it's like 0.5 or 0.02, which is non-existent almost. And then you do the examination and the prostate is small and soft. Those two put together, the sensitivity come to about 70%. So you're all right. And you should check it again next year, right? If we do the PSA and the PSA is like 20, that is very high. And we do the digital rectal and the prostate is small and soft, right? That not fitting. So then you probably could do ultrasound, specifically looking at the prostate to see if we're missing something. If you could do a blood test, some other things to see if the white cell count high, because probably it means that that person have an infection, and you treat them with antibiotic and the PSA come down, right? If you do the PSA and it's normal and you feel the prostate and it is big and hard and very irregular, that prostate cancer may not be producing the PSA. You understand me? So you could have a prostate cancer that not producing the PSA. So relying on the PSA alone as a screening test is not good. Everybody with me? Alright. So that person who have the hard, craggy prostate should get biopsies of the prostate. Alright, and you get biopsies of the prostate, probably about 10 hours of core with a needle, and send it to the pathologist, and he will check to see if the cancer is there or not. If 100 men who have HIV having sex with 100 women who don't have HIV, after 1 year, 7 of the women will get HIV. So it's not so easy to get. We're talking about vaginal sex. If 100 women who have HIV having sex with 100 men who don't have HIV, after 1 year, 0.7% of the men will get HIV. So it's 10 times easier for a woman to get it from a man than from a man to get it from a woman. Okay? Because the skin have to tear, you have to have, and the virus have access to get inside. Our skin is part of the immunity, what we call the innate immunity. So you have to have some kind of bruise or a sore or some kind of thing so the virus can get inside. If you're having anal sex or rectal sex, however, it it increases the chance of having tear and something getting to somewhere. Yeah? So it's much more risky with respect to getting HIV. Yeah, the screening should start in Trinidad at 40. Right? Certain things you see in the literature are a little bit different from here. So like breast cancer, we tend to have it much more aggressive and at younger age in Trinidad. So if you read the literature coming out of Europe or even North America, they said to start screening at 50. But if you start screening at 50, we will miss a lot of the cancers down here, because a lot of women, even at the 20s, get breast cancer. So the screening should really start if there is no family history. I explained the thing about the family history already. So if you have mother and sister and first cousin diagnosed at 40, you can't wait till 40. You have to start 10 years before. Okay? To try to pick it up. Any more questions? Alright, Sister Muff. Why are you calling your sister instead of Sensi?
Put your hands for Dr. Anthony Pottinger. Dr. Pottinger, beside being Dr. Pottinger, he also do martial arts. He's also one of my instructors together with Sukiru Nakomoshama, who was here a couple of weeks ago. Sensei Adrian is not with us, and this is one of the very, very rare cases that Sensei is not here because he's doing something else, empowering himself. I want to take this time out to tell Dr. Anthony Pottinger. Every time I call him, he said, Sensei, for you, I come in, he had surgery this morning. He said, but I will be here at 4. And at 5 to 4, Dr. Pottinger was here. Time, young people, commitment. That's what we want.